Là, c'est un test ou on attaque? Live! Ladies and gentlemen, yes, this is live. Welcome to all of you. We are of Europe. This is the west part of France. And it's a lovely day. Lovely day. So welcome joining this live here for an incredible event starting today. This is day one with this World iQFOiL Championship. Incredible event. So please, everybody here to welcome nearly 300 competitors, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time, 105 athletes, female, who are going to compete here. This is the first day. There is no win for the moment. You can see here on the back. That's the village with all the athletes, the equipment, the partner, Brest-Bretagne Nautisme. You have seen on the drone footage the Rad de Brest. Today is a lovely and sunny day. This week, that's going to change. There's going to be wind, it's going to be gust, it's going to be rain, and it's going to be competition, and everybody with one objective, one target, to go and to take part of the medal race on Saturday. So super excited here to welcome you, everybody. So many countries from China, from Australia, Austria, America, from Hong Kong, from all Europe, of course, the Netherlands, but as well, clin d'œil, special one for all the French one. The French are ready, the ladies and the men, to welcome these competitions and to compete. Now, back with the rest of the live team, with Rob. Once again, bienvenue. Ici, c'est Brest. Welcome to Brest. World iQFOiL Championship. Action, Rob.
2013.
Okay, so good morning, everybody, or good early afternoon to everybody. We are here today for the first day of the live of this iQFOiL World Championship. My name is Roberto Hoffman, and I have with me a special guest assisting me today. It's Kiran Badloe.
Good
It's
afternoon.
the gold medal winner of the last RX6 race that was in Tokyo. So, Kiran, welcome. And well, we start with the bad news.
Yeah, we have a bit of bad news.
That's you cannot race, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately, I am here in Brest, but I won't be racing. I have a little injury in my elbow, so that's what's holding me back from competing. It's nothing serious yet, so that's the good news. But it would just with this Worlds coming up in this date, it was just a little bit early for me. Hopefully, in 2 weeks, I'll be back on the water and back to hopefully challenge next year.
So you say you don't want to put your health in danger, risking to go on the water and then it gets worse. So you prefer to, even if it's an important, let's say, competition like this.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? The Worlds is important, and obviously you want to do well at the Worlds. But for me, with this injury, it's minor now, so I can get rid of it pretty quickly. But if I go out and race and give it my all, because everybody is fast and everybody's fit, you need to push really hard. There's a chance that I make it worse and potentially have a long road to recovery. So that's the decision why I said, although this is a very important event and I really wanted to compete here, for my personal well-being, it was maybe better to not.
So let's see. Let's say that at your level, obviously you have an entourage, also because the Dutch team. So it's not only you that made the decision. You also asked some doctors or some physiotherapists, and they gave you the same advice. I mean, obviously for sure it's you that you know your body the best, but you also listen to other people in this case.
Yeah, we have a full medical team, and together with my coach Aaron, we came up with a plan. And the initial plan was to go and race here. So we did everything to try and be able to be ready, but in the end we just had to make the call based on a group call with Aaron, the doctors, the strength trainers. Everybody was involved, that it was maybe better if we let this one go.
Okay, so but still, I remember you even when you were still RSX racing. You were actually one of the first guys going on the foil. So always foiling has always really attracted you.
Yeah, actually in 2018 we started playing with the foil a little bit, and actually it was a way for us to be out on the water and have more fun. We put the hours in on the RS6, and at the same time we wanted to have a bit of fun, and we could still go out there and scope the conditions, learn wind patterns, but with a piece of equipment that was more fun. So it was always part of our training and part of us spending more time on the water. And as we got better, we got more serious as well. But we always had to have a bit of separation, where RS6 was our main focus for the campaign to Tokyo, and foil was just for fun on the side. But luckily, that has all changed now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now we're here at this World Championship. We have 102 women registered and 164 men, so that's a pretty big fleet.
Yeah, you see that the foiling is attracting a lot more people into this Olympic racing, and from windsurfing all over all the disciplines, the iQFOiL is attracting and is attracting people to come and have a look and come and race, and to have a World Championships that big with that many competitors is unique. We haven't had that in a very long time.
Yeah. So Brest, I think, is myself. I was here already. I never saw action on the water, but the bay is quite impressive. I mean, it's a big bay. The setup is good. We have a very big tent area. The logistics seem to be very good, and also the forecast seems to be pretty good starting from tomorrow.
Yeah, no, like Brest is a sailing venue. Sailing's been big here, and it always has been, and especially now with the IQ, there's many people living here and training here, and that's why a World Championships in this place makes a lot of sense. The facilities are good, and you see the atmosphere among the people now that the tent is set up and it's actually a race site is very good. And hopefully, today doesn't look very promising, but for the rest of the week we have a really good forecast, and hopefully we can get many races in over the next couple of days.
Yeah, you told me you've been here a few days before. They had a few rainy and windy days. Now today seems kind of a little bit an in-between day, and the sun is here, which is very nice.
It's I've heard it's unique for Brest, so that's a good thing. We can experience this sunshine, which doesn't happen a lot. But hopefully we get a bit of wind later on today, and we can have actually the best case scenario. But yeah, Brest is known for maybe a bit of cloud cover and maybe a bit of rain, but also for very good winds. So I hope we can get that later in the week, so we can actually showcase this bay full of IQs, and that would be actually really cool.
Yeah, I talked to some riders, and they told me that this place might get pretty technical because obviously there is some currents because it's a bay, and we are obviously close to the Atlantic, and it suffers a lot the low and the high and the low tide. So there is currents in play. And then I heard something that is also unfortunately happening. Apparently, there seems to be a little bit of seaweed around too.
Yeah, that's the case with racing in venues like this. There's multiple factors that you need to count in, right? We always take care of the wind and trying to analyze the wind, but now there's current and obstacles like seaweed that you need to take into factor as well. I think it makes the race more interesting, to be honest, that you have all these things that you cannot control, but you need to try to use them or don't get caught by seaweed in this case, which makes it quite spectacular, and there's scenarios where anything can happen, and that's actually quite exciting.
Yeah. So then we have to explain another thing, which will obviously key the whole week. We will work on two courses. I believe that. I mean, I'm sure the reason is to make things going faster. Is that correct? Why they work on two courses?
Yeah, because we have so many competitors, and it's actually good for our sport that we have so many people in. We need to facilitate for them, and in order to not have people sitting at the beach all day, there's two course areas, so we can run multiple races at the same time, and therefore hopefully get more racing in and less waiting. And it's actually, hopefully we can showcase it today that it will work.
Okay, and then so to explain a little bit better what will happen during the week, when we have light winds, we sail slalom, and when it's stronger winds, we will sail racing, which is a little bit of a paradox because when we used to do the fin, it was the opposite way around.
Yeah.
Maybe explain a little bit why in lighter winds, and let's define lighter winds and let's define stronger winds.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We have this piece of equipment which foils, what gets out of the water, but we do need a little bit of wind to get going. And in lighter winds, we're a lot more vulnerable. If we get caught out by somebody else or we're sailing in dirty air, you can stop foiling, and the speed differences are massive. So in order to not have just a couple of people racing and a lot of people standing still, we've introduced a slalom course, and it's actually a course where we start in smaller groups. So we divide the whole fleet into smaller groups. So there's less chance of, we call it dirty air, and more chance of equal and fair racing. It's a different course where we sail angles to the wind, which are reaching and downwind, which also gives us an easier way to keep foiling. And as soon as the wind increases, we can all foil evenly, and we can do the normal traditional racing, which is an upwind downwind type course, and there's a tactical game involved. So as soon as the wind drops, I've seen in my corner eye that somebody's giving out chocolate. That's for later today. But yeah, as soon as the wind go up, we can go to the standard form of racing, which is course racing, and the tactical comes into play along with the speed, and we can have the big fleet all racing together.
Okay, do you have a preferred? You prefer slalom or racing, or?
I actually like both a lot, and course racing has always been what I've been doing. I don't know, forever. Actually, it feels like. So I must say that I really enjoyed the tactical game and the decision making and the positional play. There's a lot. It's like a chess match when you're sailing, but then the slalom is reasonably new for me, and now that I've been practicing it a lot more, I've actually started to like it. The adrenaline, the exciting, and the short race makes it like a no mistakes allowed kind of race, and that's really cool to see.
And it maybe makes it also more attractive to people that maybe come from PWAC. Sometimes there are some strong slalom sailors. They come over to do some iQFOiL because they maybe have the feeling when they do slalom they have good chances. Maybe racing is a bit more difficult for them, and
I think in this format, I think everybody has something that they're good at, and that's the beautiful thing, is also including a marathon into the format, which is a course that's aimed for at about an hour time of racing. Everybody has a piece that they like and can do well in, so it's really a quite a wide class instead of pointing it into one thing that you need to perfect. There's a lot of multiple aspects that you need to control to be able to be good at IQ foiling.
Okay, so obviously here in France, the hype for IQ foiling, I mean, for generally for the Olympic sport is big because they're going to host the Olympics in a year and a half,
Yeah.
and so obviously France is a lot under focus. And so, is that your goal also? Obviously, to go to Marseille.
Definitely, I would like to go to another Olympic Games. Hopefully Paris. That would be that's the closest one from now. So that's definitely my goal. But it's not going to be easy, and that's the beautiful thing about it. With the Olympic format, we have one spot per country.
Yeah.
It actually makes it really special going to the Olympics. It's a tough qualification to get there for certain nations. Think of France, GBR, Italy, Spain, and Holland. They have really big groups of athletes that are all doing very well. So it's a very tough selection to be that top guy. But if you're able to go, it makes it that much special. That out of that whole bunch, you're the only one.
So I read that there is only 24 countries that will go to the Olympics. By the way, like you said, it'll be very selective for some countries. I mean, for some countries, obviously, will be not that difficult because if we take a World Championship and you have like, I don't know, 5 Dutch, 5 French, 5 thing, it's still, you have to go down to 24 countries. So for some countries, it still might be relatively easy. But it's not like in the old days where, I mean, Sofia mentioned him, for example, they sent, I don't know, Brian Chalmer, from Barbados. So that's not possible anymore to send any color country to go and do the Olympics.
No, there's a certain criteria to it. I think each continent has a couple of spots secured. So I think two.
I think Africa has like 1 or 2 places.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. So in that way, we can show that we're a worldwide sport. But apart from that, it's the world ranking and the placing of the World Championships that would define the countries that are going. So it's still a very high level fleet at the Olympics.
Okay, and next year we will have the World Championship in Holland. So that will also be that's probably the most important competition because that will probably then define who will go to Olympics.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the first competition where they will select the spots. So it's a very important one for multiple reasons. It's a World Sailing World, so all the sailing classes will be there. It's the first qualifier for the nations, and for me, it's my home regatta. It's my hometown event. So for me, it would be amazing to do well there. I think we can have a great event. If the organizing party sets it up the way they want it now, it's going to be. It's going to be great if we can provide good weather, and I will sign the contract next week that we're going to have good weather.
I heard it's technical. I mean, here it's a bay. For sure, you can have very strong winds. We know that, but let's say that the water here stays always relatively calm. You don't get big waves, but in Holland you can also get some swells.
Yeah, we have a very interesting sea state. It's a channel between Holland and England that all the water of the Atlantic is being pushed through. So there's actually very strong currents, and if the current's against the wind, we're going to have quite a bit of. It's actually a combination between swell and chop. I think it's the most difficult place I've sailed in. It's high swell, relatively short, compressed, so it's a very technical sea state.
Okay, and coming back to Brest, so we will have the live coverage, and as we said, we will cover one race course. Obviously, during the week, we will change the people. It will not be always the same people racing on the course, because maybe we remind them that we have the men's fleet is divided in 3 colors. And then the slalom format is not like you think in the PWA, where you make quarterfinals, semifinals, and thing, but every heat is already a result, correct?
Yeah. We divide I think we have a division of 3 fleets within the men.
Yeah.
And those 3 fleets will be divided again into 3 heats. So there's a lot of racing going on, but each race already counts as a final result.
Exactly. Because sometimes it's confusing for people when they look at the ranking. They see, oh, this guy has 3 firsts and the other guy also has 3 firsts. How is that possible? It's because it's different fleets and divided in different heats. So that is the better solution to come immediately to results. You don't do like very often happened in, I don't know, in PW races. They come all the way to the semifinals and then the wind drops and they have actually no real results. So you have a result straight away.
Yeah. It was the only solution if we needed to cater for this many people. And we've seen that the class is growing, and this was the option and the solution that we can get racing in straight away. Everybody can get lots of racing, and it's actually valid racing, and you have results on the board.
And you don't have people, like often happens, doing one heat and then sitting the rest of the day on the beach, but they're on the water all the time, fighting and do the best they can.
Exactly. It's short racing, so it's relatively fast behind each other. And if you have a bad one or you miss out for some reason, you get another chance pretty quickly after that.
Okay, and I mean, today, actually, we take today to explain a little bit how this whole system works. And then you need a minimum amount of races before you finally make a division into gold and silver fleet, correct?
Yeah, so I think after 2 or 3 days of racing, I'm not sure, to be honest.
Okay.
We will divide the groups permanently. So right now we will split the groups and we will rotate them after a day to keep sort of the division fair and make sure that you can race everybody. And after those 2 or 3 days, usually it's halfway the week, we make a permanent decision so that the top 1/3 of the fleet will only race each other for the remainder time, and the middle third will only race each other.
Okay, same obviously is for the women, that they have the
Exactly.
same. They will also have a gold and a silver fleet, and then the Olympic format sees that when we come towards the last day, there is actually the medal race, which is, let's say, the highlight of the week, which I thought in some cases might sound a little unfair, because you might have maybe people that were sitting just barely in the top 10 for the whole week and they can still win the races. So that's kind of, it's a 2-sided knife, let's say. It can be good on one side and bad on the other side. I remember it helped you at the Europeans in Silvaplana.
Yeah, the first
You actually
Europeans.
were struggling at the beginning and then you got European champion.
Yeah.
Obviously some people like that, others didn't. So, but that's how it was decided to be.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've been on both sides actually. I've been coming in barely in 10th and then winning the event, and I've been comfortably in 3rd the whole week and ended up 8th. So it's a little bit of both, but I think we need to look at it as different. It's a different format. It's not per se good or bad. It's a given fact that last day creates excitement among the sailors, because there's pressure, among the spectators because nobody knows what's going to happen, and it's a guaranteed spectacle no matter what. And because we remove all the points, everybody's in it to win it. The guy that's in 10th believes he has a shot and he will give it his best. So it's a very interesting format where the general feeling is excitement, and excitement in a good or bad way. But maybe before people were not very interested in watching because the race or the event was already won before the last day. But now it's already happening on that day. In that hour, the winner is going to be crowned.
I think one thing they changed is that the winner, after, let's say, all the qualifications, is still preceded in the final. That is at least the compensation they give to him.
Yeah. We have the ranking as the week goes on still counts. So if you are first after the whole week, you would go straight away into a final. There's an elimination system where we start with the quarterfinals, followed by semis and a final.
Yeah.
And by doing well in the week, you can pre-seed for the final and for the semifinals.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of stake to be played for the whole week, but
Yeah.
it's still all coming down to that last day.
Yeah, exactly. And that is mostly when it's the most exciting. If we look, I mean, I know forecasts are forecasts, but if we look towards the end of the week, it seems that we get really the strong wins like there is big low pressure coming, so it looks like there might be a lot of excitement coming up.
I think it's with the forecast being as it is right now, it's going to be a very entertaining final. I think all the 10 guys that will be in the final, both on the men and on the women's side, are very capable and very good sailors. So they will guarantee us of a spectacle, and even in those strong winds, they will send it for sure.
Okay, and then coming a little bit to the equipment, because maybe a lot of people is not very confident. So obviously the Olympic equipment is one board, one foil, one sail, one mast. Everything has to be the same.
Yeah.
So where stays the ability to get the notch out of the equipment, or is that or I mean, some voices are saying that some masts are better than the others and whatever. I don't know. It's like you have to choose also your right gear. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a one design class, but still within one design, there's very small differences and they're minuscule. But we're professionals. Like everybody that's here has a great understanding of equipment, and we can feel these subtle differences. So everybody's out there looking for that little bit of magic that they can find maybe over somebody else or some other piece of equipment. But I think in general, it's all about a balance between having the good setup in your equipment and tuning it right, and being in tune yourself with that setup. That's actually going to give you a little advantage on the speed side.
And I always ask myself a thing: did everybody ever try the board with the fin?
To be honest, I did, and I think I'm one of the few ones. It's an interesting concept, and the great thing is that initially we thought we weren't able, that we were going to foil in strong winds.
Yeah.
So the fin was going to offer a great solution just to get us on the water. But as the class evolves and as the riders become more in tune with their gear, we can see that we can foil in up to 35 knots with this piece of equipment.
I mean, you say you will be always faster on the foil.
Yeah, I think the fin is the only option for the fin at the moment is if you
Have a huge shore break or something.
if there's a huge shore break, or if you guaranteed gonna fall on the foil a lot. If you know that I can foil and it's faster, but I will be in the water quite a lot, maybe the fin can offer a solution. But I would always choose the foil.
But that also I was wondering. I mean, once they do the Olympics, is it always an option that you choose, or is it the committee that says no? Today we think the conditions are too dangerous. We all go on the fin, or is that? Or you still?
I'm not sure, but I think if it was up to me, I would say let the riders choose.
Okay, a little bit like now that they can choose in PWA, fin or foil.
Yeah, it definitely showcases the ability, and if you believe that strong wind, maybe as the only one you can still foil and make an advantage, that should not be taken away from you. So I think it should always be up to the rider, because it's a skill they can learn, and it's a skill that they can have over somebody else that maybe isn't able. But I think everybody would choose the foil. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too. But isn't it amazing that the equipment has such a huge range? I mean, we are really talking. I mean, also I saw you when you were in Silver Plan. I mean, you guys pump in 4 or 5 knots, and you get on the foil, and you can really go until 30 knots. That's impressive how big the range of the equipment is. And I think that was the idea of having something like that.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea with one design, right? It's all coming down to one set of equipment, but you need to go through all the ranges. You need to be able to sail in light winds and still go out when it's pretty strong. So they've done a great job with this set. The set is easy to handle. It's powerful enough to get us up in really light winds, and like you say, 5 knots, we can pump our way up to the foil and do a short race. But then if it's 30 knots and big waves, we can tune it differently, and we can still get out and still race. So it's a very versatile piece of equipment.
And to make it a little bit more technical, I mean, maybe you don't want to tell me all the secrets, but as we know, the back wing has different angles. The only real variation that you can do, beside, let's say, pull the sail more flat or whatever, is to play with the back angle of the tail. And does that make a lot of difference? Do you use different angles? I mean, I know that I think that I asked around a little bit. The most used is like the plus 0.5, and if it gets super windy, maybe the 0. But nobody really goes further up and down than that number. Or could you see yourself, it's super windy, to maybe go even to a different number?
I think that all depends on the individual, right? There's a lot of components, and like I said before, the key thing here is balance. And if with this back wing that we can change the angle of, you can create power. You can create more or less power, And if you create less power in the back wing, you need to find more power somewhere else. So it can very well be that somebody's on a very different, we call it the shims, the pieces that are in the back wing,
Yeah.
on a very different shim than you are, but he has finding his power somewhere else.
Okay.
And that's, I think, the great thing is that there's not one thing that's proven to be the fastest. Everybody has a slightly different setup, and everybody goes about the same speed.
So that is interesting. So you still can play. There is still some space to. I mean, like you said, the differences are small, but this might play the difference sometimes.
Yeah, it all depends on how you like the sail, what's your preferred style, and how you set up for that. And it could be that in flat waters you have a different setup than in waves and strong winds and light winds, etc. So there's a lot to play for, and it makes it interesting as well that within this one design piece of equipment, there's a lot of options for us to tweak and tune and hopefully find an edge.
And also, let's say between the small things you can change, also the mast foot position makes a difference. Back, more forward, more backwards. I mean, just to tell people that are watching now that even if it's one equipment, there is tuning possibilities.
And this is the only way that we can go out sailing in 5 knots, creating a lot of power for ourselves, and still go in 30 knots, where we can alter all these things: the back wing angle, the mast foot position, the trim of the sail, just to make it able that we can actually go in 30 knots as well. It's all about having the right setup at the right time, and that's probably part of the game as well. Having the right tuning and the right settings for the right equipment and for the right wind strength. That's what it's going to give you the win in the end.
Okay, so if we stay, because you're here obviously my guest now, if we stay within the Dutch competitors, who are your biggest opponents for Marseille?
I wish I could only say one name, but there's a lot actually. Now we have a very strong Dutch team. Obviously, we have Luc de Zoolander, who's flying. He's actually, I think, one of the fastest guys out there. We have Amado Frieswijk, who just won his PWA in slalom 40. Who is definitely not the slowest out there.
So you think also Amado really aims to go to Olympic? I thought he would do it more like, oh yeah, I'm going to play around, or is that this?
Yeah, but if you play around and you're in the top, this goal becomes really close, and if it's within reach, I think he will try definitely. But then we have our now our squad is big. We have Haugian Tak, Max Kastelein, and Joost Vink. And there's plenty of other names that are actually showcasing that they're really fast.
Okay, so but it's actually good because if you have a high level, you push each other more.
We have a great team actually, where we all have a really high level, and all of us have an individual component that we're really good at, one thing that stands out for us. And because we're great friends as well, we train together and we can all learn from each other. And it actually showcases, that we are that strong as a group because we are doing this.
And then something that is really interesting is you've been working many years now with the same coach. I mean, he's actually from New Zealand, which is also pretty funny, because I mean, you say we're from Holland and he's from New Zealand. He was himself a former Olympic, so he has a lot of experience. How did this collaboration with Aaron come up? I mean, it's like, and you still stick with him, so it means that he guided you to gold medals, and so it seems to be there is something. How can I say something magic that is working with him?
Yeah, well, I actually joined the Dutch team with Aaron when he was already there. So before me, there was Dorian, who did pretty well in Olympic windsurfing, and he was working with Aaron, and I was able to join the team. And pretty much from that moment that I joined, my results slowly started to go up to the point that I ended up winning races, events, World Championships, and the Olympics together with Aaron. And he has a really good understanding of what it takes to peak to an event. And it's still up to us to make sure that we do well. But he's really good in guiding us to these moments and knows when to put in the effort, when to focus on speed, and how to structure a year together in order to perform. So he's still, now that we've swapped from Aerosex to iQFOiL, he's still for me the best coach because he can guide me in this process.
So even windsurfing seems to be like a really individual sport. Coaching is important. I mean, how important is the mental factor in iQFOiling?
It's massive, and I think that's in every sport. It needs to be right in your head in order to perform. Like there needs to be no doubts, no insecurities. There can be little insecurities, but there needs to be well, for me at least, a positive attitude. If I feel well and I'm having a good time, I can perform. And if I have all these doubts and insecurities, I start questioning myself. And Aaron is actually really good that in between races, when we come on the boat, we just have a good time. We don't even talk about racing too much. We just have a good time, and it seems to work.
And because obviously we are talking here about the Olympic sport, I mean, obviously it's important, the nutrition. You go to the gym. It's I mean, it's a full-on let's say sport where you have to perform. So you do everything for your body to make it perform as good as possible.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's everybody's is a good windsurfer and everybody's fast, and we're all looking for an edge over each other. That even goes beyond windsurfing, like you said, nutrition and the physical training. If that's a gain that I can make opposed to somebody else, I will take that because I have an advantage during the week. So it's great that all these factors come into play. That it's not just about windsurfing and going fast. It's about being an all-round athlete and having your head straight on. That's gonna in the end make you have a great week.
I remember when I saw you a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago in Silvaplana, and you had with you the gold medal, and you still, it was a month after you won the gold medal in Tokyo. You looked very, very, very skinny and very, let's say, exhausted. And you told me the third thing I want to do is put on some weight because you looked really. And did you manage to put on a few kilos?
I managed to do that. Yeah, definitely. No, it was. You know, and that's with every one design class. You go to a specific body weight that seems to work for this class. You know, you can be how heavy or how light as you want, but in the end, there's a range of weight that will perform in all the conditions. And
I think in our 6 it was around 70 kilos or 72 or something.
Yeah, it was like for us, it was between 70 and 75. That was sort of, if you were in that range, you were able to be sailing in light winds really good and in strong winds. And I was 73 kilos with being 195.
It was perfect, yeah, because the leverage also counted, so you had the perfect
Exactly.
R6 weight and body and everything.
Yeah, but like for me, it was a challenge to get that light because it was especially in the last months, I really had to try and become that light. But it paid off. I managed to have a great Olympics, and yeah, like you said, the first thing I wanted to do afterwards is get some weight and maybe become a little bit healthier.
Let's say get normal again.
Get normal again, because it was, for me, it was not a healthy period, I think.
Okay, that's cool. Listen, it was great you were here with me, and we filled up this first half an hour of this iQFOiL World Championship here in Brest. I'm sure I'm gonna need your help more during the week.
I'll be around.
Maybe when it gets a little bit more technical. I mean, I know many guys, I know most of it. I sail IQ myself, but for sure it's always good to have somebody technical like you here. I know it's not easy for you to be here because it's, but on the other hand, you have a lot more races to go. So,
Exactly.
Last question, then we're going to stop it for the moment. What's your plan now for this winter? Are you going to go somewhere training, or you stay in Holland, or what is the plan?
Yeah, so we're actually going to go to Lanzarote in the beginning, do one of the IQ games that is organized there and do a little bit of training. And actually, for the first time in a couple of years, New Zealand has opened up its borders.
Yeah.
And we've always used to base ourselves there and train because our coach is from New Zealand.
Yeah.
It gives him a bit of time at home. So we're actually looking forward to going back to New Zealand as well.
Okay, that's cool. So thanks a lot to Kiran Badloe that was here with me. Gold medal winner in Tokyo, and that's it at the moment. We might come back in the afternoon around 3 with some more interviews, but it's lunchtime now, and
There we go.
Thank you, and that's me from Roberto Hoffman, and I see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.